Welcome back to the channel. It's a fantasy football strategist here. In today's video, we are breaking down Matthew Golden of the Green Bay Packers. Throughout the first 4 weeks, there's been a little bit left to be desired in terms of a counting stats perspective. But what's the reason for this? Is it Jordan Love not being accurate? Is it Matthew Golden not being able to win, separate at the NFL level? Is it bad play design? Is it just luck? Is it some kind of combination of all these factors? Well, we're going to take a look at some advanced stats, talk about his usage, his situation, look at his both short-term and long-term outlook, and then break down some film so that you can see it with your own eyes. So watch to the end of this video if you really want a good idea as to what we might be able to expect from Matthew Golden and what we're actually seeing right now. So without further ado, let's get into Matthew Golden here. Now, I will admit, pre-draft, I was not the biggest fan of Matthew Golden. I thought he was more of your second-round talent. If I'm remembering correctly, I did not have him as a first-round grade. I didn't think he was bad. I just thought he was a more limited wide receiver. So, he's 5'11", 191 pounds. That's not tiny. That's not typical number one wide receiver territory in both height and weight. But in traditionally at least, but in today's NFL, you can have slot wide receivers be your number one, aka JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? So that's not necessarily something that matters at this point in today's times, right? But he is more best suited, at least, as your kind of boundary vertical wide receiver, not your true do-it-all number one, in my opinion, which is fine because the role that he brings to the table here for the Packers is a big one and a valuable commodity at the NFL level. So he has 22nd percentile arm length. That's not particularly great, but he was selected 23rd overall in the first round. He's barely over 22 years old. He wasn't early declared. There is a positive correlation between early declares at the wide receiver position and success at the NFL level. Now, I do want to mention, though, one reason why I was a little bit lower on him coming out is I am both big on film and analytics and marrying the two to try to hit a sweet spot to evaluate talent. And he honestly didn't really officially break out in college, which is a huge red flag. He was at Houston and he was fine, but didn't really, he never really blew up in any of those games against lesser competition. Now, his quarterback was also bad, so I understand that, but just really didn't do too much from a counting stats perspective, at least. Then he transferred to Texas, and he really didn't do very much until his teammate Isaiah Bond was out. Then he kind of broke out at the end of his junior season. So the advanced or the analytics from how you've progressed from your freshman year to junior year and seeing increased growth and hitting some of these benchmarks that we typically want to see with these guys were not met. So analytically, he was a very, very, very bad prospect. Now, the film was much more kind to him than the analytics were. But I want to mention that while if you see here, he ran a 4.29, which is 99th percentile in the 40-yard dash and 91st percentile when you height and weight adjust that, he just does not play that fast on the field, in my opinion. This kind of speed and in-game, you're talking about Jameson Williams. I don't think he's Jameson Williams level fast in-game. I think he's more of a mid to high 4.3s type, which is fine. But there's a reason that everyone was shocked that Matthew Golden ran a 4.29, which they didn't think he was that fast. And they were shocked that Isaiah Bond ran a 4.41 because they thought he was going to be significantly faster. And while I didn't think he was going to break the combine record, and I don't think many people thought that, like he said he was going to, we thought he was going to be way faster than this. And that's just kind of on the field, Isaiah Bond played faster than Matthew Golden. And I do think the way Golden runs does play a factor in there. He's kind of a smooth kind of get off guy. He's not really your choppy type. And I think that kind of maybe is a little bit of a bias, but nonetheless, I don't think he quite plays up to that level of speed on the field. But he does separate vertically. And I don't want to say that he's slow. I just don't think he's Jameson Williams type of fast, which is what I think about a 4.29 would really represent in on-field play. But taking a look at the counting stats here, some of these stats, the targets only 14, that's 84th. The target share of 12.7 is 74th. These are not good numbers, especially for a first round rookie wide receiver. And the route participation, 70th with only a 69.8%. Those are not very good numbers. And remind you, that's with Christian Watson out. Really, the 13.5 ADOT means that he is being used vertically down the field. In terms of when he's getting targets, at the very least, he is being targeted deep down the field. He has 4 deep targets on 14 total targets. Taking a look at his catchable target rate, 78.6%. That's actually pretty good. And that says a lot about Jordan Love and how good Jordan Love is. And he is playing way better than I thought he would this year. And he has proven me wrong this year, being Jordan Love. Now, talking about unrealized air yards, he has 97. That's at the point in which, so the air yard is obviously the distance that the ball is traveling until it gets to where you were being targeted. The actual like unrealized total yards, if he would have been able to corral some of these deep shots that you're going to see, would be significantly higher. He, in terms of unrealized total yards, he probably has, probably around 200 at least at this point, in my opinion. Now talking about true catch rate, 100%. That's fine. That takes away that only encompasses passes or targets rather that are actually catchable. And so it dings you if you don't catch catchable targets and doesn't ding you if you can't catch targets that are just wildly inaccurate. Now, one thing that's holding true from his prospect profile, he has a 100% contested catch rate, albeit on only 2 targets as a small sample size, but he had great hands on film. So, and that has translated, mind you, no drops. But one other positive, and I'm going to explain the context of this and why it's a positive, even more than you might think on the surface, is the target separation. 2.43 yards of average target separation is 3rd in the NFL. And while that number is good in and of itself, it's actually much more impressive when we think about how much he's being used on vertical routes down the field. Now, I'm going to get into a minute his specific usage in terms of slot or out wide percentages, but I'm going to tell you right now that he is being used out wide vertically down the field, at least being targeted relatively highly when he is running those routes. And it's impressive considering that's how he's partially deployed, that he has this number, because typically it's really easy for slot guys like JSN or Amon-Ra St. Brown to have a high target separation because you're facing off coverage a lot of the time in the slot where they don't bump you off the line of scrimmage. So that's this stat can be misleading, but I don't think it is in this case. I think that just shows you something that's quite impressive, actually. But the target separation versus man of 1.00 yards is 52nd. He is not your route you up man beating wide receiver. And getting to his usage on the season, now this is a little misleading. He actually has a 42.9% slot snap percentage and 55.2% out wide percentage. But that's misleading on the surface because if you look at his first 3 weeks versus this past week, in week 1, he played 21% of the time in the slot, 28% in week 2, 26.7% in week 3, and then out wide he played 78.6%, 64, and 73.3% of the time. That is how I thought he was going to be used predominantly, especially while Christian Watson's out. But this past week, he saw a 75% slot snap percentage and 25% out wide. Now, for fantasy purposes, compared to the role in which he was previously being used, that's actually not too bad for fantasy. If we could get, about a 30% slot snap percentage and about a 70% out wide percentage, I think that would be perfect. But I do want to mention that once they moved him into the slot this past week, he saw a significant uptick in targets, which does coincide with what I've been talking about with when you're used as this outside boundary wide receiver, guys, you just don't get the target volume that these other guys do. And so while in the past I've had people get mad, and say, oh, you just don't like this guy, or you it's so frustrating because I've gone through years of data, and the profile of the boundary only wide receiver is by far the worst for fantasy, like by far. The slot only wide receivers are preferably the good mixture of about 70% out wide and 30% slot, true number one type wide receivers in their deployment are generally the best bets for fantasy, or at the very least, significantly better bets than somebody with this usage because they get more consistent target volume. Now, honestly, I have no idea what they're going to do because the week 4 is wildly disproportionate in terms of the usage compared to what we've seen throughout the first 3 weeks. So if he sees more of a slot heavy role, I think that's going to be great for him in terms of the volume and the floor especially. The ceiling may be shrunk a little bit if he's not given those deep balls, but he may see this work and then when he's out wide get those deep balls, and then that'd be awesome, right? So that is going to be something to note though. Now, looking at X, rookie receiving leaders after week 5. Now, he did have a bye in week 5, so it's not exactly fair to him. But you see Egbuka, McMillan, Warren, Hunter. Then you have tight ends like Taylor, Fannin, even Elik Ayamenor ahead of him. And then, Scadaboo and Hampton, 2 running backs, have more receiving yards than this guy, which, once again, is a little bit tricky when you contextualize that he's had one less game. But he is definitely not leading the pack at this current time in total receiving yards. Now, another thing I found from X. This is a chart that shows the raw PFF separation grade, his ability to separate, and then also has on the y-axis the catch point and yak grade. So one thing I mentioned, and I'll mention later in this video, is he's just not the best yak guy. That's what I said coming out. That's just not one of the strengths to his game. So you can see he's slightly below average there. There's a bunch of players above him, a bunch of players below him. He's not terrible at it, but it's just really not the biggest strength. But the separation is awesome. I mean, Tyquan Thornton, who's that's basically the complete floor for Matthew Golden, and I don't even think it's the floor at this point. I think I've seen enough to confirm that's not even the floor at this point. But nonetheless, he is getting ridiculous amounts of separation, which coincides with what I was showing you earlier with this target separation right here. Now, per Sal Vitri, Golden has quietly led the Packers in receiving for 2 straight games and is playing once again over 70% of the snaps. And just like I was saying, and exactly like he's saying, this is lining up perfectly for after the bye week for him to blow up. So we see that he's been typically throughout the first 3 weeks used as a more so boundary wide receiver, but definitely seeing about that 20 to 30% slot usage. But then in week 4, he exploded to a 75% slot usage and only 25% out wide usage. Very different roles they were asking him to play. So what are we seeing from him on film? We know that the counting stats aren't particularly impressive, but we know that they're saying he's getting a ton of separation. Well, let's take a look at the film and see what we're getting from Matthew Golden throughout the first 4 weeks of his NFL career, and then try to figure out, marry that with the advanced stats and his situation, and think about what we might be able to expect out of Matthew Golden in the long term. And I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members. Thank you to Big Hunt, SP, Mage Jack, Infamy MTG, AOYOB, and The Dawn. Without your support, this would not be possible. As you're probably well aware if you've been watching my videos for a while, I cannot get monetized because of the film breakdowns I do, and even just the little videos I have where I have clips of plays in them. They get demonetized every single time, making it therefore impossible to collect any revenue. So obviously your support is greatly appreciated. And if you are so inclined to become a member, the perks would be you will get access to a private Discord where we have both a real life and fantasy football chat, as well as a voice chat if you just don't want to have to type a bunch of stuff. I'll also give you detailed roster breakdowns and roster reviews where we talk about the strengths and weaknesses of your team. Then we kind of break it down further by looking into the scoring settings themselves and the starting lineup requirements to help you build the best team to help you dominate for years to come. In both Dynasty and then in Redraft, obviously, I'd help you with a good solid game plan, especially if you know where you're drafting from. Then also give you detailed trade advice based on your specific league settings to help you dominate. Also give you access to private live streams and the ability to not only see videos at least one day early, but also the ability to suggest videos that you would like to be created. So if you would like to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. If not, just please like and subscribe. Let's get back to the video. All right, taking a look at week 1, we have Matthew Golden lined up at the top of your screen. He is going to be running a 9. What you're going to get from the rest of the receivers is a speed out, another vertical route in the slot, and then you're going to get a crosser from Kraft. This is a very effective play call because the Commanders are going to be in match cover 3. So you're technically going to have 3 deep third defenders with this guy, and the outside corner Lattimore. Then you're going to have your hook zones over the middle, as well as your zones to the outside here in the flats. But what they're going to do is they're going to, once again, match. And so they're going to act in man coverage here. What we're going to get from Jordan Love is a bit of manipulation with his eyes. So the goal here is to manipulate the deep midfield safety here. And so what Love is going to do is he's going to stare down this receiver running this seam to get the midfield safety to head over to this side of the field and then allow Matthew Golden to exploit the one-on-one coverage. I'm going to show you, he gets a ton of separation here on this one. So right here, the ball snapped. As you're going to see, Jordan Love is eyeing this receiver with the explicit purpose of manipulating the safety, which it works. Then Love turns right back, all while bouncing around and making sure that he is ready to throw this football whenever. Now, as far as Matthew Golden and the cornerback covering him, as you'll see right here, he has his hips turned this way towards the outside of the field. He's trying to keep the leverage this way. Matthew Golden is going to say, no, thank you. I am going to flip your hips. Thanks very much. He is going to get separation here. The only issue is Love just does not put enough zip on this ball, in my opinion. So as you can see, there's separation here. This should be a walk-in 40-yard touchdown, right? Unfortunately, the pass is just going to take forever to get there. And so, you know, this is week 1. We want our rookies to break out. We love it, especially when they break out immediately. And this is just one of those things where if you just looked at the stat sheets, you wouldn't understand that he should have had a 40-yard touchdown in his first week. But yeah, very encouraging to see the vertical separation there and the ability to just leave the cornerback in the dust. And taking a look at another clip here, I believe I said a minute ago that this was from week 1. This was actually from week 2 against the Commanders. But nonetheless, he should have had over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. He is running vertically down the field once again. You're going to get a deep stop. You're going to get a route out to the flat, another route out to the flat, and then Jacobs is going to sit in the middle. And so on this play, the Commanders are going to be in cover 3. So it's going to be a little bit untraditional in the sense of how it looks. Usually you would have 2 outside corners, and then, you know, 1 deep middle field safety and then 1 safety in the box. It looks a little bit funny, but you're going to have your 3 deep third defenders here. Then you'll have your hook zone and your flats as well. So on this play, to Jordan Love's credit, he notices the lack of depth that this center field safety has. Now, granted, this is before the snap. You could always bail. But as of right now, with Golden running vertically down the field, with the lack of depth from the center field safety, that is disturbing if I'm a Commanders fan. And so he does the play action fake. And now he knows exactly what he wants to do here. He has confirmed that this safety has no depth. His hips are not turned to match what speed Golden is going to present here. And this cornerback is toast as well. Unfortunately, after gaining separation and probably getting enough separation that if he caught this cleanly, he could score for sure. He might have gotten tackled. But nonetheless, this is unfortunately going to be just out of his reach, man. But this is, once again, confirmation that he's getting open. The lack of production is what it is, but it is this. He should have had a massive game already by week 2. All right, taking a look at week 3, Matthew Golden. He is going to be lined up at the bottom of your screen here. This is actually quite the interesting play all around. So first of all, Tucker Kraft is going to go in motion here to this side of the line of scrimmage before the ball is hiked. What we're going to get, though, is a stab route here. You're going to get Tucker Kraft running a little hitch route. You're going to get a speed out from Matthew Golden. And then you're going to get a fake post and corner route up at the top. And then Jacob is going to leak out into the flats. Now, as far as the defensive coverage, I always find this interesting when we see this. This is going to be cover 6, and so it's a little bit interesting. What you're going to get is a deep half-field safety here with a flat corner underneath. You're going to get your hook zone linebackers there, and then you're actually going to get quarters on this side of the field with 2 half-field, or deep quarters, and then a flat route. Because of the spacing, let me clear this so that you can really see that. Because of the spacing here that he has, this is the perfect play call. But I also want to highlight the way that Golden runs this route. So it's obviously a very good play given the ridiculous off coverage. I mean, you're talking 10 yards off the line of scrimmage here, right? And so look at how flat he achieves this cut. I really like this. And not only is the cut pretty flat, he continues to run flat here so that there's no possible way that a cornerback or a safety could break on this football and intercept it, dislodge it, deck him, so very intelligent. Then he spins upfield, isn't really able to get any yak, but I really like that he set himself up to try to spring forward to potentially break a tackle and get some extra yards after catch. He wasn't ever the best yak guy. He's fine. He can get it, in a straight line. He can make somebody miss. That's not really his skill set per se. But I really like the route running here. I love the sharp angle, keeping it flat, trying to work for yak right after the catch. Just really good stuff on film. And remember, guys, this is just week 3 of his rookie season. This guy is going to be a very good wide receiver. All right. I don't want this to be a completely depressing film breakdown. We do have a successful play here. So Matthew Golden is at the bottom of your screen, lined up against the cornerback here. He is going to be running a 9. You're going to get a 9 from the other side of the field. And it's going to be really just a mirrored play where you're going to get double crossers and the running back just leak out into the middle of the field here. The Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, are running a defense that is going to be exploited by this play call. So what you're going to get is cover 2. So you're going to have your flat corners here. You're going to have your 2 deep half safeties and then your hook zones over the middle of the field. So essentially what's going to happen here is this cornerback is going to let Matthew Golden go by him in cover 2. He's going to play underneath. He's going to work his way far too inwards and be behind Golden regardless. So he's not going to be a factor here. And this safety does have to respect the crossing route by the receiver in the slot here. So he's going to take half a second. He's in a predicament here, and that's the point. But he's going to be too late getting to the outside. Golden is going to make the catch here. And this could have been such a bigger play. And it's just part of what's been so unfortunate with Matthew Golden so far is what could have been. So here, like I said, the cornerback is going to trail intentionally. So you already see the beginning of separation happening here. So he's going to work his way down towards the sideline to thus create space between him and the conflict defender to give Jordan Love an easier throw. That's going to work. He's going to track the football, catch it. And unfortunately, at this point, if you saw this, you might think, dog, there's no one in front of him. It's a walk-in touchdown. Oh my goodness, this hurt my soul. But nonetheless, very good stuff to see. Good ball tracking, good pacing on his route, good understanding and spatial awareness to make sure that he's getting away from the conflict defender to give Jordan Love an easier throw and potentially even give himself a walk-in touchdown. It's just unfortunate that once again on one of these, it did not result in a touchdown. All right, so let's get to a negative play because there are negative plays. He's a rookie. Rookies make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Even the most elite of players make mistakes. Here is a negative play, and unfortunately, he compounds a couple of mistakes to make an incredibly detrimental play that's fortunately for the Packers' sake and especially his sake bailed out by an unnecessary roughness penalty on the Cowboys. But what you're going to get here is he's lined up on the bottom of your screen. He's going to go in motion. They're going to actually set up a screen for him. And so what you're going to get is blocking downfield, and you have everyone from on the right side of the formation, including the center, working down this way. Now, the Cowboys are going to be in a cover 3. So you're going to have your deep thirds. You're going to have your flat, your hook zone. And on this play, it's going to be easier for me to explain if you just see it. So Matthew goes in motion, turns around, gets the football. Now, I'm going to try to pause this as soon as the ball is about to come. Okay, so he has the ball in his hands right now. One of the things that I mentioned in the scouting report, the breakdown I did of Matthew Golden over the summer, is he's just not that great at yards after catch. It's fine. Everybody has different skill sets they bring. He brings very good deep speed, separation ability, incredible hands. There are many things he does bring to the table. Unfortunately for him and the Packers on this play, this is not one of those things. Now, he has a couple choices. I personally think, and it's easy for me to say just sitting here on my computer, staring at a screen of a play to say this, but I think that he should have just gone directly upwards. And I think that if he had just gone forwards, he potentially had a brigade here that he could have exploited, and who knows how much he could have gained. He also could go back. Unfortunately, this defender here that is working his way to Matthew Golden does have a trail defender here to kind of help the leverage on this side, so that's really not an option in my opinion. Now, if he were to go this way, Romeo Doubs has lost the leverage battle over here, so that's not going to work. Unfortunately, he is going to choose to go backwards, which on a screen where you're already behind the line of scrimmage is generally a bad idea, guys. So he's going to try to make a miss, and to his credit, he does that kind of. But then the other defender forces him to have to go this way. So then you've already lost yardage just where you're catching the football. Now he tries to make this defender and these defenders miss, which is just obviously it's not going to work when you have a billion defenders next to you. And so he is hit for a major loss, but fortunately for their sake, once again, there was an unnecessary roughness penalty at the end of this play that bailed them out. But like I said, I thought that if right here he just went straight upfield, booked it, there's a chance. Or, at the very least, he regains some of the yardage. But yeah, just a rookie making a rookie mistake, compounding bad decisions. Fortunately, like I said, he got bailed out, but Yak was just never the biggest strength of his. And once again, that's okay. Everybody has different strengths. He's not going to be your Yak guy. That's going to be more of your Jaden Reed. All right, and now you have plays like this. This is a negative play in the sense of Matthew Golden loses yardage, but it's stuff like this, man. So this is actually going to be an RPO where Jordan Love has the option to feed the running back. He can go to the left. But what you're going to get on this side is a wide receiver screen for Matthew Golden. Now, the Cowboys are going to be in a cover 3. I believe it's very hard to tell sometimes in these, red zone, short part of the field type situations. But I believe you're going to have your center and outside third defenders. You'll have your flats, and then you'll have your hook zones over the middle. Unfortunately for Matthew Golden and Jordan Love and the Packers, Romeo Doubs, this is just about the most complacent I've maybe ever seen somebody. Possibly that, or he thought that Dontavian Wicks was going to pick up this block. I say that because Trayvon Diggs just runs straight through both of them and crushes him. So terrible blocking, and you see a 3-yard loss by Matthew Golden on this play. And if you're not in a PPR of any sort, you lost 0.3 points. But once again, this is not his fault. So Jordan Love sees that the Cowboys really aren't even ready on defense. So first of all, that's a great sign. Second of all, when you're wanting to run a screen where you're heading outwards, where you're getting blocking that allows you to theoretically head towards the boundary, this looks like a situation where Jordan Love's going to catch them lacking, and he is going to punish them. Let's see how this plays out, though, once again. So he correctly determines that he wants to throw this to Golden, But unfortunately, if you pay attention here, neither one of these two receivers even tries to get Trayvon Diggs. So Trayvon Diggs just says, all right, let me smack you for a loss of 3. And yeah, very disappointing stuff, especially considering the Packers caught them off guard. I really wish Romeo Doubs. I mean, you should have Trayvon Diggs here. You're the boundary blocker. You should have the boundary. You should set the edge here. This is on Romeo Doubs. It's just so frustrating because that could have been a touchdown if he makes this block. Because then if Dontavian Wicks is able to make this block, he just has to beat, he's probably going to beat the linebacker, in my opinion. He has to beat this safety one-on-one. Maybe he doesn't do it. Maybe he does. But he's not even given a chance because Trayvon Diggs is just allowed to walk freely through 2 guys. Really Romeo Doubs, though. All right, and so one final play. You know, if you've been watching these videos for a while, that I like to end on a positive note. There's so much negativity out here these days that besides the fact that we should have every reason to be have a positive outlook on Matthew Golden, it's good to be positive, right? So it's actually an interesting play. I really don't like the. I think Golden potentially runs the wrong route. It's a little bit difficult to tell. I'm not sure because the spacing on this play makes no sense. This looks like a Shane Waldron special where you have multiple players, receivers running into the same area of the field, which is always bad for the which is almost always bad for the offense and almost always good for the defense. I use almost because in this case, somehow everything goes right. So you're going to get 9 routes from the outside receivers on this play. And then what Golden's going to do is he's going to kind of run a deep fade, but it goes into the same area of the field as the receiver on the top of your screen here. And he's actually going to intercept, Matthew Golden's going to intercept a pass that I'm not sure was supposed to go to him. This is a very strange play, I assure you. So what you're supposed to be getting from the Cowboys, I should say, is 3 deep, cover 3, where you have your hook zones, your flats, and your 3 deep third defenders. And so theoretically, if this conflict defender, if he goes down here, then you have 2 guys that have no center field coverage here. But he should be in a conflict here, having to decide between both sides of the field here. And now if he goes to the left, then you would theoretically have one-on-one coverage with Doubs, and you'd probably go down to the bottom. But this cornerback here, who's supposed to have a deep third responsibility, is not going. He's just, no thank you. I don't feel like it. So he's going to stay down here before realizing his mistake and trying to catch up in the play. By that point, it's too late. Golden and the receiver at the top of your screen here are going to be open, and you're going to see that Matthew Golden intercepts this pass. And so once again, so you have your conflict defender. He is going to at first choose this side of the field so that Jordan Love doesn't go to the one-on-one down here. Now that leaves everybody here. Right now, Golden has gotten past the linebacker. You have this linebacker. He is no match for Golden, not even remotely close. Now this defender is starting to realize what's happened, the deep center field safety. But watch this. Yeah, so he just lets him. He just lets his responsibility go right by him, and it's too late at that point. But then you also see, like I said, that Golden right here and he are going into the same area of the field. They're both open, but Matthew Golden is going to make an incredible play on the ball and potentially intercept this. Not sure if it was supposed to go to Wicks, but nonetheless. It's great for Matthew Golden if you have him in fantasy, but kind of a funny play nonetheless because of how much went wrong and how ugly it is, but yet that it's a beautiful play that resulted in a gain of over 40 yards. So what do we think about Matthew Golden? I think he obviously has the great ability to separate vertically. He consistently does it. He should have had multiple long touchdowns by now and should be being seen by the public, especially fantasy players, as a very good asset to have down the road. when we talk about his usage, he has seen some slot work for sure. He's gotten a little bit of work in the screen game, which I like from a PPR perspective. He's not really the best yak guy. Maybe he improves a little bit. I think a lot of that is kind of just instinctual. But I don't ever want to limit somebody. He could definitely get better there. But he's being used more so as a Christian Watson vertical threat, which is kind of what I was worried about with his profile and when he was drafted, only in that the role itself is a bit boom busty. The profile of the usual boundary only wide receiver, once again, he is seeing some slot work, so I don't want to take that away from him. But the deep threat profile of receiver, that's the elite tier of that is generally going to be your kind of DK Metcalf type of player. So what I think we're going to get is a lot of these big boom games, like you've seen, that week 2 game against the Commanders, I believe, where he could have had over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But then you're also just going to get these games where you go, 2 for 33 because of how difficult it is for these guys to complete these 40-yard passes down the field. So I think you're going to see quite a bit of volatility with Golden, but I think the upside in any individual game is just so elite, man. He should be being looked at so much differently than the people who don't actually watch the film or look at the underlying metrics and just look at counting stats to decide whether somebody's good or not. But yeah, I think that he does have the ability to be a player that can be used all over the formation. I do wonder if when Christian Watson returns, because it's allegedly supposed to be happening sometime soon, if once he gets ramped up, they maybe put him in that kind of deep vertical threat role and allow Matthew Golden to be used all over the formation, maybe get more target volume, better or more, not better, but more likely targets to be completed than, your deep shots, which are big reward, but also just so much more challenging to complete that they're oftentimes not completed. So I think he has a ton of upside. I really like him. He's young. I like that he's connected to Jordan Love. I like that he's connected to LaFleur. I think that the return of Christian Watson could really open up an opportunity for him. And guys, remember, Packers just had their bye. He should have had plenty of big games already. It's the bye week. Typically, rookies that haven't been getting an immense target share like Neighbors did right out the gate last year typically get worked into the game plan a lot more after the bye. If you remember Brian Thomas, while he was definitely used after they had some injuries towards the beginning of the season and used kind of, as your deep threat as he kind of progressed as a true 3-level threat receiver, after the bye week, his usage exploded. They were using him all over the formation a lot more creatively. I don't know what it is about, hey, we've had our bye week. We can now use our rookie where we can maximize our rookie. Sorry, before the bye week, whichever arbitrary week this is, we couldn't do it before. Maybe that happens here. But I think the upside with Matthew Golden in this role that he has now is kind of a DK Metcalf-ish type of player where you get these big boom games. And I'm talking DK Metcalf from a statistical output standpoint, by the way, not a actual player comparison. They're very dissimilar from that standpoint. But I think that's, if he's continuing to be in this role, that's what you're gonna get. But the sky's the limit if they move him around the formation more consistently and don't kind of pigeonhole him into that role with the return of Watson. But yeah, I think the upside is so great. What do you guys think about Golden? Have you been impressed? Do you think that he has the ability to do more? Let me know below in the comment section. Is there anything you think I missed about him? Let me know below as well. Once again, if you would be so kind and would like to, I would really appreciate it if you would join my Patreon. The link is going to be in the comment section. I, once again, am unable to monetize these videos because they get copyright claimed by the NFL, obviously, because it's their content. And so if you would like to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. If you would not like to or are unable to, if you could just like the video, give a comment, subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Share with a friend, maybe. Anyways, y'all have a great day, and let me know what you think about Matthew Golden. Thanks.